In Chapter 6, Segment 4, Brain Size Predicts Success in Adapting to a Novel Environment, it says that in a study with 195 bird species, species with larger brains relative to body size tended to be more successful in establishing themselves in novel environments. And sexual selection may have contributed to hominid brain expansion. Geoffrey Miller suggested that natural selection to obtain food and shelter is not likely to account completely for the large brain and complex intelligence of Homo sapiens. Only after the human brain stopped expanding did technological advances develop which showed that the brain growth did not correlate well with the fitness benefit of enlarged brains. Miller proposes that there is an additional factor for large human brains. It is due to the sexual selection for abilities to attract attention, stimulate, and surprise a potential mate. This theory has a further value presenting an evolution theory for human traits such as human art, music, language, and creativity. This theory of sexual selection for artistry and creativity, which leads to increased brain size, is supported by the bowerbird family findings. Male bowerbirds attract and impress females by constructing elaborate structures of twigs with colorful and shiny objects. They have larger brains compared to other birds, and within the bowerbird, species that build more elaborate bowers have relatively larger brains. In primate species differ in gene expression, humans and their closest relatives can differ on a genetic basis in two principal ways. 1. The DNA sequences of specific genes may vary in important ways between the species, and 2. Humans and their non-human relatives may also differ in how those genes are expressed to construct a complex brain. Moderate changes in just a few crucial genes may make a big difference. Humans differ considerably from other primates in patterns of gene expression in the brain. Humans and chimpanzees are similar in blood cells and liver cells, but differ in patterns of gene expressions in the brain. Mathematically speaking, chimpanzees are so different in pattern that chimpanzees have more in common of that in a monkey than within humans. This suggests that the pattern of gene expression in the brain has changed and accelerated in human lineage because of selective pressure. This acceleration is not present in the liver or blood. This also could be what makes humans so different from chimps despite we share 99% of identical genomes. Even a small difference in gene expression can cause a dramatic difference in brain development. The pattern of gene expression has a very large effect on the developing brain. And evolution continues today. It says that artificial selection is selection driven by human behavior. For example, selective breeding done by farmers where they decide which individuals they want to reproduce to obtain specific traits in the offspring. Humans can also bring out evolution by accident. For example, inappropriate use of bacteria, which leaves the surviving bacteria to reproduce and rapidly spread antibiotic resistance. New developments have found that colonization in Europe and Asia by Homo sapiens did not happen until 50,000 years ago. Differences in skin color, stature, and facial traits evolved in less than 50,000 years in response to different climate conditions. Human variation is a reminder of how quickly evolutionary processes can start. Cultural and medical developments have radically altered lifespan and fertility, which are the two main ingredients of evolution. Medical science has now largely replaced natural selection in determining who dies and who gets to reproduce. Many writers argue that changes in human brains that happened recently is because of cultural evolution. Cultural evolution is the ability of humans to pass hard-won knowledge along to the next generation. Scientists in the past have looked at an individual's haplotype to see if they have undergone natural selection. Haplotypes are gene bundled together, which is neighboring structures of DNA. Single nucleotide polymorphisms is a minor variation within the gene or neighboring non-coding DNA where one nucleotide has been substituted for another. Most SNPs, not all, have just two different versions or alleles. Alleles are one of two or more two different forms of a gene or genetic locus. This is what causes variation within traits. If one allele has a reproductive advantage over the other genes, it will be selected for natural selection pressure and will gradually spread throughout generations until most people have the same allele. Not all changes in recent humans are evolutionary or genetic, some are nutritional and due to medical advances.